Bill Daugau to clear up some issues with the labeling of evidence.
Okay.
It should not take very long.
Well,
I have no objection.
Well,
except for that wasn't going to be put out. They just wanted to have it for ID purposes.
well, it was for ID purposes, but you still have your case. I'll let you recall a witness.
So, there will be one additional picture being put into that as well. I'm going to provide it to Mr. Trustlaw.
Well, you can recall a witness. You can do whatever you need. I'll allow it. Let the record reflect the defendant is present. All right, Bobby, let's bring in our jury panel, please. Thank you, ladies and gentlemen. We're ready to continue. Solicitor, you may call your next witness.
Your Honor, the same would recall Officer Jill Daugau to the stand.
All right? I just advise you she's still under oath. Officer Daugau, I would advise you that you are still under oath in this matter.
Yes, Your Honor.
Thank you.
Good morning, Ms. Daugau.
Good morning.
Earlier you testified about two digital video recorders that were, one was marked for identification and the other was placed into evidence. If I could show you what has been let me show you what has already been entered into evidence, States 52. It has been previously identified as a digital video recorder from Highway 814. Is that in fact what it is?
No, sir, it is not.
What is that digital video recorder?
If I may refer to my notes.
Yes, ma'am.
It is a digital recorder that belongs to a business off of Highway 17.
Is that business the Beaver Bar?
Yes, sir, it is.
Did that DVR have anything to do with Highway 814 or the defendant's residence?
No, sir, it does not.
Your Honor, I'd ask to have that exhibit remarked as a DVR from the Beaver Bar rather than the DVR from 814 that was previously marked.
No objection. Very well. Without objection.
Because the record reflects, I'm showing what's been marked as State's Exhibit 53. Dr. Gower, please take a look at that exhibit. Dr. Gower, that had previously been entered as a DVR from the defendant's residence for identification purposes. Is that in fact the DVR from the defendant's residence?
No, it is not.
Where is that DVR from?
From the residence on Highway 814.
So there was a mislabeling between the States 52 and States 53.
Yes, there was.
To the best of your knowledge, how many DVRs were recovered from the defendant's residence according to your paperwork?
Only one.
And that was in February of 2014.
Yes, sir.
Let me show you what has been marked for identification purposes at this point in States Exhibit 78. And I'll retrieve States 53.
You want that? You know that it came from 814.
Yes, sir, Your Honor. We would ask that the record be changed to reflect that this exhibit came from Highway 814.
No objection. Very well. Without objection, this will be remarked. We see the DVR from state residence 814.
Thank you, Your Honor. Ms. Daugau, please take a second to look at State's Exhibit 78 for identification purposes. Does that appear to be a photograph from the search warrant that was executed in February of 2014?
Yes, it is.
And does it appear to show the defendant's digital video recorder?
Item number 1, yes, it does.
Thank you. I'd enter that as evidence, Your Honor.
No objection. Without objection, it's admitted.
I just ask to publish to the jury.
May do so.
Thank you, Ms. Daugau. I have no further questions.
Any questions?
The jury's got that, so I'm going to use my copy, if that's all right.
Absolutely.
This is the photograph, if you can identify. Is that the same photograph the jury's looking at?
It appears, yes, sir.
And that picture was taken on February, sometime in February of 2014.
During the search warrant.
Okay. And are you aware in your work in this case that Mr. Moore purchased and installed a surveillance system in his house December 21st after the disappearance of Heather Elvis?
No, sir, I was not aware.
Okay. But again, this is well after the disappearance of Heather Elvis, this picture,
That was in February, yes, sir.
of 2014.
Yes, sir.
Thank you.
Redirect.
No regret.
Thank you. You may come down.
After this witness again, be released for receipt.
Any objection?
No, sir.
You also free to leave. Thank you.
Thank you again.
For a while. Call your next witness, please.
Your Honor, the state would call Agent Jamie Adams to the stand.
And if you wait right here, come. Yes, ma'am. Place your right hand. Place your left hand on the Bible. Do you solemnly swear or affirm the evidence you're about to give the court in this case will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth to help you God? Yes, ma'am. Thank you.
My name is Jessica Adams, ADAMS.
I apologize, Ms. Adams. I called you Jamie.
That's all right.
Where are you currently employed?
I work for the South Carolina State Law Enforcement Division.
Is that commonly referred to as SLED?
Yes, sir, it is.
And what exactly is SLED?
It is the state police for South Carolina. We assist local agencies with cases by investigative or intelligence, analytical, other means.
And what's your current assignment at SLED?
I'm the Missing Persons Information Coordinator.
And what all does being the sorry, that's a mouthful, the Missing Persons Information Coordinator entail?
It's commonly referred to as the MIPIC. Basically, I do the statistics for South Carolina for the missing persons.
As a part of your job, do you have the chance to check on the activity of missing persons to determine if they are, in fact, having any activity?
Absolutely. Part of my job is also as an analyst.
And how do you do that?
We have a set of databases, both paid databases and then also ones that SLED control or holds on their servers.
What sort of databases do you search?
For example, there's CLEAR. CLEAR is a paid database. It has bits and pieces of information that's drawn from several sources, such as real estate, magazine subscriptions, utility companies, things like that.
Did you have a chance to search that database to see if there was any activity from Heather Elvis after December 18, 2013?
Yes, sir, I did.
And what were the results?
There was no new activity.
Do you search any other sort of databases?
I did. I also searched one that's for incident reports. For example, vehicle insurance claims or homeowners insurance, and it's vehicle, homeowners, and workman's comp insurance claims.
I'm sorry, Ms. Adams, you said incident reports. Did you mean insurance claims?
I'm sorry about that. Yes, insurance claims. It's the National Insurance Crime Bureau.
And what were the results of your search in that database?
There were no new entries.
And did you search a third database?
That's right. SkyX is a database that SLED takes incident reports from all over the state. And so if you're in one county, you can search all counties. And I searched that for Ms. Elvis as well.
Were there any activities subsequent to December 18, 2013?
No, sir.
Did you do anything else to try to confirm no activity since December 18?
I put in a request. We're a member of the Regional Organized Crime Information Center. Basically, they have, it's ROCIC, they have a set of databases as well, and so just to, I believe that they may have used CLEAR in the past, but in case they have anything that we don't have access to, I put in a request for them as well and received back results from them.
Was there any activity for Heather Elvis after December 18, 2013?
No, sir.
Did you have a chance to do anything in regards to the South Carolina Department of Motor Vehicles?
I did, yes, sir. I searched for any new vehicles registered, updated license, anything like that, and didn't receive anything back.
In your searches, did you find any results showing activity from Heather Elvis subsequent to December 18, 2013?
No, sir, I did not.
Thank you, Ms. Adams. I have no further questions.
Sergeant, you have any questions?
No questions, John.
Thank you. You may come down and reach this witness to be excused.
Yes, sir.
You are free to leave. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
At this time, the state calls Brianna Warman to the stand.
Please raise your right hand. Place your left hand on the Bible. You solemnly swear or affirm the evidence you're about to give the court in this case will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth. So help you God. Ms. Hammond.
Please state your full name and spell your last name.
My name is Brianna Warman. It's Warrelmann.
Okay. Now, Brianna, what do people normally call you?
Bree, and I was recently married. I changed my last name. It's now Crazen.
Okay. And where are you currently living?
New Jersey.
Do you have any kids?
I do.
How many?
2. I have a stepdaughter, and then I have a 10-month-old son.
And at any point, did you ever live here in Myrtle Beach?
I did.
Okay, and when was that?
2011, I moved here briefly for a semester of school from August until December, and then I moved back August of 2012.
Okay. And were you living down here between the months of, I'd say, July through December of 2013?
I was.
Okay. And during that time, did you know Heather Elvis?
I did.
And how did you know Heather?
We were co-workers, and we were also really close friends.
Okay. And about how long had you known her?
About a year and a half.
Okay. And at any point, did y'all live together as roommates?
We did.
Okay. And when did she move in with you?
Right after Thanksgiving break.
Okay. And while y'all were friends, where did you both work?
We both worked at Tilt to Kill.
Okay. And y'all lived together from when again?
November of 2013.
Okay. And when you were at Tilted Kilt, did you know Sidney Moorer?
I did.
And how did you know him?
He did maintenance around the restaurant. He would be there when we were all working.
Okay. And did you know whether or not Heather Elvis and Sidney Moorer knew each other?
I did.
Okay. And if you don't mind, tell this story about that relationship.
I was actually there the night it all started. A couple of the girls and kitchen staff had received passes to go to a Pelicans baseball game. And afterwards, I didn't drive there. I left my car across the street at the Tilt to Kilt at Broadway at the beach. So Heather offered for me to ride back with her. So we went back to Tilt to Kilt, and we sat on the back deck and had fries. And as we were there, Sidney actually walked past. He was building some kind of cart to carry the umbrellas to the front of the restaurant. And that's the first time Heather had ever mentioned him to me. She said, "Look at him, I want to jump his bones," was her exact words. And then shortly after that, he came, sat down at the table, and was talking to her. And they stayed actually past closing time of the restaurant. I ended up leaving early that night, and I watched them talk outside in the parking lot of Tilt to Kilt by his truck at the time.
Okay. And how long did this relationship go on as far as the two of them?
All summer.
Okay. And describe to the jury what kind of relationship it was. Was it just friendship? Was it more than friendship?
It was definitely more than friendship. You could tell that both of them cared about each other.
Okay. And would he come in and see her?
He would.
Okay. Even when he wasn't working?
He would.
Would he ever bring her anything?
Snacks, food. If she needed money for a new outfit or whatever, he brought her that. He would bring her Starbucks because she was obsessed with Starbucks.
Okay. And do you know if that relationship ever developed into a sexual relationship?
I do. It did.
And at some point, did that relationship end?
It did when Sidney's wife found out.
Okay. And what started going on once the relationship ended?
Harassing phone calls, text messages, photos were sent to Heather.
What kind of photos?
Sexual photos of Sidney and Tammy.
Okay. And during the time that her and Sidney were together, was she with anybody else?
No, not during the time they were together.
And did anybody else, any other men come and see her?
Friends would come see her at Tilt to Kilt, but her heart was completely invested in Sidney.
Did you ever notice any physical changes in her during that time?
Yes, I want to say it would be end of September, beginning of October 2013. She had put on some weight, and I actually know that because she had went up a full cup size. When you work at Tilt to Kilt, you have to have a special bra for your shirt, and she had to get a new bra for work, and she also had to get new bras in general.
Okay. And at that time, were y'all friends?
Yes, we were.
Okay. And at that time, what did she think was going on?
She thought she was pregnant.
And do you know if she ever took a pregnancy test?
I do. She took one day when we were at work during lunch shift, but it came up as book read error. It was a digital test.
And during this time, did she ever drop that weight?
No.
Okay. And during the time y'all lived together, do you ever remember seeing tampons or anything like that in the trash can?
No, I don't.
Okay. And y'all had lived together for how long?
Officially lived together was after Thanksgiving, but she started staying with me beginning of November, here and there.
Okay. So she was staying with you, spending the night, all that?
Yes, ma'am.
In the beginning of November? And then after Thanksgiving, everything was moved in and it was every night?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. When was the last time you saw Heather?
The Monday before.
Okay. And if you don't mind, tell this jury, after the breakup, did she ever get back to her normal self?
She did. I want to say actually the beginning of December is when she was doing really, really well. Us and a bunch of the girls from Till to Kill, we would all hang out. We'd have girls' nights at the apartment. We'd talk for hours and hours all night long about life and our goals and hopes.
Once y'all moved in together after Thanksgiving, did y'all continue both to work at the Tilted Kilt?
Yes, we did.
Okay. And were y'all the type of roommates that hung out outside of work?
Yes.
And did y'all hang out every day?
Every day, all day. And if we weren't together, we were texting each other constantly.
Okay. So at that time, best buddies?
Yes.
Okay. During that time, did y'all ever go or ride by Sidney Moore's house?
No.
During that time, did y'all ever leave any notes on his vehicle?
No.
Okay. At the time you knew Sidney Moore, what kind of truck did he drive?
A white pickup truck.
Okay. Would y'all have even known that he had a black truck?
Objection.
I'll sustain objection on 6:15. You have to establish that first before you answer the question. Or not.
Just to get us back on track, the last time you knew, what color truck did he drive?
A white pickup truck. The truck that they had first talked outside of that night when they originally talked, it was a white pickup truck.
Okay. And is that the only kind of truck you knew him to have?
It's the only truck I've ever seen him drive.
Okay. Now, after the breakup, did he continue to work at Tilted Kill?
He did. I didn't see him though.
Okay. And did she continue to work at Tilted Kill?
She did. Work was her life.
Okay. Now, when did you leave town in December?
I left the Monday morning before. I'm not sure the exact date though.
Okay. And when you left town, how was Heather?
She was sleeping on my couch, and then she woke up just as I was about to leave and begged me not to go because she said she was going to miss her other half.
And when you left, how long were you scheduled to be gone?
Until right before winter break from school was over, so that would have been the very beginning of January.
Okay. And when you left town, was there any talk or arrangements of her doing anything other than just keep living right there?
The only thing was she was scheduled for a job interview for a job that she was really hoping she would get.
Now, if you don't mind, when you were out of town, did you hear from Heather? Did she call you?
She did.
Okay. And how many times?
As much as possible. If it wasn't through text message or a phone call, it was through the app called Snapchat.
Okay. And how many times did you actually talk to her?
On the phone, I believe it was 3 or 4 from Monday until Wednesday early morning.
Okay. And if you don't mind, tell them about the first time you talked to her when you were out of town.
I talked to her I drove from Myrtle Beach to New Jersey. I talked to her during my drive. And then Tuesday, I talked to her when, after her job interview. She went for a job interview for makeup. And I talked to her after, once she got the job. She called me all excited.
Okay. And how was she during those phone calls?
On Monday, she told me about a potential date she was supposed to go on, and she was really, really excited. I had heard about him before I left. And then on Tuesday, she was even more excited because of this job, because it's something that she had studied and that she had so much interest in.
And where was that job?
I don't know the exact place, but it was doing cosmetology and makeup at a salon.
Okay. So it was right here in the area?
It was in Myrtle Beach.
Okay. And if you don't mind, tell the story about the last time you talked to her.
At 1:44 a.m., she called me crying, not like sobbing, but hysterically crying. And when I asked her what was wrong, she didn't want to tell me because she knew I didn't approve of her relationship with Sidney in the slightest bit. She said nothing was wrong, and I told her she was lying. And she told me Sidney called, and my exact response was, "Why did you answer?" And she said it wasn't his phone number. And I said, "Well, why, if it was blocked, why did you answer?" And she said it wasn't blocked, it was a local 843 number. And I said, "Well, what did he want?" She said that he left his wife, and that he wanted to see her and be with her, and that he missed her. And I said, "Don't do it. You've been doing so good. You're finally moving on. You went on a date." And then I said, "Tell me about the date." She said that she learned how to drive stick. But she knew would make me proud. So I changed the subject. And then I asked her about the date and how it went. And I said, now you can learn how to drive my car, because I didn't want her to burn out the clutch in my car. So I told her she had to learn somewhere else first. And I said, are you supposed to see him again? And she said she was supposed to see Steven the next day when he got off work. So she was at this point in time starting to cheer up and change her mood. And I asked her if she knew what they were supposed to do, and she said no, but she was just excited to spend time with him. So I made sure she was in a better mood first, and then I said, are you going to see him? Talking about Sidney. She told me she was going to sleep on it and not make any rash decisions, and that she would talk to me in the morning, and that she loved me. And that was the end of the conversation. That was the last time I heard from her.
Why was she so upset over that phone call?
She was mad and she was scared. She said she didn't understand how it was the first official date she had went on. And how he called literally right after Steven left. Why then? Because at the end of November, right after Thanksgiving, she was upset and she was hurt because she felt like she loved Sidney. So she didn't understand when she was finally getting her life together. Why then? Why call then?
When she called you, do you know if anybody else was in the apartment?
She told me she was alone.
Okay. As far as her habits in the apartment, when she left, did she keep a key with her?
There was a key, but the chances of her using her key, if she knew she was coming right back, were slim to none. If she was going to be gone a long time, she would leave the back door unlocked. We had a screened-in porch at our condo. She would leave the sliding glass door unlocked if she was going to be gone a long time, but if she was coming right back, she would leave the front door unlocked.
Have you heard from her since that phone call?
No, I've not.
Tell this jury a little bit about her habits with her cell phone.
Typical girl and a cell phone. Chances of it leaving her side are slim. If we were out somewhere, out to eat, or out with friends, and her phone was dying, it was, let me go sit in the car and charge my phone.
And how about with her car?
The car was a mess.
Would she have ever left that car anywhere?
No.
Now, have you talked to her or seen her since that day?
I have not.
And did you go back to that apartment y'all were both living in?
It did.
Okay. Was her stuff still there?
It was.
Was anything missing from her stuff?
There was.
Tell the jury what was missing.
She had a go-to outfit she would wear. It was a black leather jacket with gray sleeves, black leggings, they're like tight pants, black Vans sneakers, a beanie hat, red gloves with the fingertips off, and it was all gone.
Was that the only thing missing?
It's the only outfit that was missing.
Okay. How about her makeup, toothbrush, curling iron?
It was all there.
We've heard a couple other names that have been brought up throughout this case. One of them is Jeremy Fleming. Do you know who that is?
I do.
And had she had any contact with him during that time frame?
About a week before I left, her and I went to a place called Remedies, which is a local place for wings, and he was there with his friends.
And how was the interaction between the two of them?
In the beginning, she didn't want to go near him, and then after that, they talked the rest of the night pretty much. They were civil. I mean, there wasn't like anything more than just a civil conversation, but that was it.
And had she been involved in any kind of relationship with him during that time?
Not during that time, but she did live with him before she moved in with me.
Okay.
She stayed there. He gave her a place to stay.
Okay. And how many roommates did he have?
I believe 2.
Okay. So that was a situation where 3 people were living all together?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. And when was the last time she had been involved in any sort of relationship with him?
Years, as in like an actual non-friendship relationship. That had been years.
Okay. So she had moved on from that relationship and he had moved on?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. And during the time she lived with you, the only time they had contact was that one time out when they just both showed up at Remedies?
Yeah.
Okay. Now another name that has been brought up is Dennis Hart. Do you know Dennis Hart?
May I ask which Dennis Hart? There's 2. There's the dad and then there's the son.
Okay. Had she ever been involved romantically with Dennis Hart, either him or his son?
She had a friendship with the son, and the dad was our boss.
Had she ever been romantic with either one of them?
No, not romantic.
Okay. And during the time she was living with you, was she seeing either one of them or having any contact with them?
She would talk to the younger one on a daily basis. He was in the process of moving back. I believe it was from Washington State. They had like a best friend, brother, sister, like puppy kind of friendship. I don't really know how to explain it. They were really close. They talked every day.
Okay. So at that time, Dennis Hart, the son, didn't even live in South Carolina?
Correct.
Okay. And was she having any contact with Dennis Hart that worked at Tilted Kill?
Other than he was our boss, nothing else.
Okay. So y'all never saw him out, never had any contact other than through work?
I don't. The only time might have been at the Pelicans game, but I don't remember if he was there or not.
Okay. Was Stephen Schiraldi the first date she had been on since that situation with Sidney Moorer?
The first official date, yes.
But she had been going out and hanging out with friends?
Yes, ma'am.
Was she afraid of Tammy Moore?
Yes, ma'am.
Was she afraid of Sidney?
I don't believe so.
Did she mention to you meeting anybody else that night?
No.
Did she mention to you even having contact with anybody else that night?
I don't believe so.
And I know you were upset the first time. Tell this jury exactly what she said to you.
She called me crying. When I asked her what was wrong, she didn't want to tell me. She said nothing. I said, "What's wrong?" She said, "Sidney called me." I said, "Why did you answer?" She said, "It wasn't his phone number." I said, "Well, why did you answer a blocked call?" And she said, "It wasn't. It was an 843 number." And I said, "Well, what did he want?" She said, he said that he that he left his wife, that he missed her, as in Heather, that he wanted to see her and be with her. And I got angry and I said, "Don't do it. You're finally moving on with your life. You're just happy again. You're yourself again." So then I changed the subject and we started talking about how her date taught her how to drive a manual transmission. And I said, "Now you can finally learn how to drive in my car." I asked her if she was going to see Stephen again and how it went. And she became like a little schoolgirl and all excited talking about Stephen. She said that she was supposed to see him the next day after he got off work, that she didn't know what they were going to do, but she just wanted to spend time with him. At the end of the conversation, I asked her if she was planning on seeing Sidney, and she told me that she was going to go to sleep and think on it.
Did she ever have any intentions of moving from Horry County?
There was 2 instances that it had been talked about. The first one was a couple months prior. She said that Sidney was going for a job interview in Florida and that he told her that he was going to try and get a house that had a spare bedroom or a guest house area so that he could be there that she could be their live-in nanny so that they could be together. And the second time was I had been in discussion of moving to Jacksonville, North Carolina at the time, come the following January, and I told her that there was an extra room and that she could come with me if she wanted to. It was the only 2 times.
Okay. And when she told you that night, did she tell you anything about leaving or moving?
No, she just told me to come back.
Now, how old was Heather Elvis?
At the time, she was 20 years old.
Okay. And was she on social media?
She was.
Okay. And tell me a little bit about that. Was she somebody that posted her life, or was she somebody that was just kind of posting whatever?
If she saw something that she liked posted, that somebody else posted, she would reshare it on a daily basis. If she found something that she found funny that she heard in passing, she would post it. That girl posted probably everything and anything on social media.
No further questions, Your Honor.
Questions, Janice?
Ms. Warman. Your understanding that we're here today for the trial of Sidney Moorer
Yes, sir.
and not Tammy Moorer.
I'm well aware.
Okay. Before I launch into this, let me ask you something that you said was that Heather was afraid of Tammy Moorer, but you didn't believe afraid of Sidney Moorer. Is that correct?
Correct.
Okay. You believe that Heather and Sidney cared about each other.
I do.
He would bring her coffee from Starbucks. Is that correct?
Yes, sir.
You have to answer. I mean, you have to answer. You have to answer so she can hear you. I'm sorry. Regarding, well, I'm going to get to that. Let me tell you from the outset. You gave a recorded statement in this case, correct?
Yes, I did.
Have you had an opportunity to review that since you gave it?
I did.
Okay. And I have obviously listened to it and taken notes. Okay.
Yes, sir.
And I want you to know that if you need to hear it, you can hear it.
Okay.
Okay. In regards to that statement, do you recall in that statement, you testified today that she had put on some weight and thought
Yes, sir.
maybe she was pregnant, correct?
Yes, sir.
And that she took a pregnancy test and it came back error or something along those lines?
Yes.
Do you recall in your statement that after that period of time in December, she got her period?
She did spot before I left for school, or before I left for winter break. As far as tampons or anything along that line, there were none in the trash before I left. And
Okay.
I'm the one that usually cleaned the bathroom.
All right. So what I want to ask you is that in your recorded statement that you gave back how long ago was that?
2.5 years.
In that recorded statement, was your verbiage that you used, she then got her period?
She did bleed.
Okay. So do you recall saying she got her period?
I do recall.
Okay. All right. Now, prior to the time that she came and you had her come live with you, correct?
Yes, sir.
Are you aware that there were some periods of time that she had actually slept in her car?
The past summer.
Okay. Did you testify that she moved in with you after Thanksgiving break?
Officially.
Okay. So would that be in December?
No, that would have been end of November.
End of November.
End of November.
Do you recall in your statement saying that she had been living with Jeremy
I do.
prior to that?
I just said that. Yes, she was.
Okay. And do you recall in your statement describing Jeremy as abusive?
Yeah, when they dated years before. I do.
So you don't know if he was abusive?
I know he wasn't abusive when she was living with him.
Okay, he just stopped being abusive?
They weren't dating.
So he would only be abusive if they were dating?
He was emotionally and verbally abusive when they dated.
Okay.
As in, he was controlling.
In your statement, did you say emotionally abusive or just abusive?
I don't think I specified in my statement.
Okay. Was surprised if you said that he was physically abusive?
I'm sorry, what did you say?
Would it surprise you if your terms were physically abusive in your statement?
No, because I believe he was.
So he was?
When they dated.
Okay. So the guy named Jeremy that was physically abusive to her when they dated,
Okay.
just prior to moving in with you in November, end of November, she was living with him, correct?
She was staying at his house.
And is it true in your statements you said he kicked her out?
He did. He was having his ex-girlfriend come move in with him because they wanted to work on their relationship, and he didn't believe that Heather should still be staying there when the ex-girlfriend moved in.
Do Do you recall when you saw Jeremy at Remedies? Do you recall that?
I do.
Do you recall you went and talked to him?
I
You
did.
had a conversation with him?
I did.
And do you recall in your statement that you said he told you that Heather was a pathological liar?
I do not remember saying that.
All right. Regarding Stephen Schiraldi, that's the individual she had the date with, correct?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Do you recall in your statement that he told you that he had texted with her up to like 3 a.m. after the date?
I do.
Okay.
I don't know if that was the exact timing I said, but I do remember that he did text with her after the date.
Okay. So if he dropped her off, and you may not know this, but hypothetically, if he dropped her back home at 1:15 to 1:30 and gave her a kiss, stayed 5 minutes and left, there would be records of him texting with her after the date. You would assume,
Yeah.
because he told you that.
He did, and I also assumed, usually after a date, if whether it's the girl or the guy that's driving home, usually lets the person know they're home.
Now, when we talk about the let me ask, I just want to back up because you may need to listen to your statement. 37 minutes and 20 seconds in your statement, I've got that you said Schiraldi said he texted with her until 3 a.m. or so. Is it
He did.
possible you said that?
He did text her after the date. I did say that.
Until 3 a.m. or so.
Okay.
I mean, do you
I don't
remember
really
saying
understand
that?
what you're trying to ask.
Did you say that?
Maybe? I don't know.
Would you like to listen to your entire
Not
statement?
really.
Huh?
Not really.
Okay. You stated in your statement that Heather, you've already said she was fearful of Tammy, that Heather was being harassed after the breakup by Tammy.
She was.
She was sending, there's previous testimony, and tell me if you have knowledge of this, that she at one point had sent somewhere upwards of 90 to 95 threatening, harassing messages at one time, or in a short period of time.
I believe it was phone calls, but I think it was both
Or phone calls or
Yeah,
text.
I believe it was phone calls, but yes.
And that Tammy Moore was sending at least one that we've entered in evidence, a picture of the two of them having sex.
Yes, sir.
She sent to Heather Elvis.
Correct.
I'm sorry, Mayor, I think I missed some. What did we enter into evidence?
The picture, oh, did we enter that picture? All right, well, I'm sorry.
There was a picture described.
Yeah,
and
that's what I was-
testified to, so it's in evidence because he talked about it, Solicitor. Okay.
I just wanted-
It's in evidence through the, as I told the jury, I don't know whether the picture itself was, but the person described it. So it's in evidence.
Right.
Okay. So the question is properly framed.
I ask you to bear with me. I'm trying to get done, and probably quickly, but I've got notes here. That's the only way I can keep up. Do you recall talking about, from your personal observations in your statement, of whether Heather felt comfortable or welcome at home? I know this is difficult for you, but I just...
Heather was the rebellious child in the family. She had her own views on what she thought her life should be, and obviously for parents it wasn't the same. I mean, I don't know if you have kids or not, but I know I put my parents through hell and back, and so did she. So yeah, I don't believe that her and her parents saw eye to eye about certain choices and decisions that Heather made in her life.
Were you ever in the Elvis home and witnessed any of that?
I was in the Elvis home, but I didn't witness any problems.
You witnessed no name calling?
Not that I recall.
Did you make the statement that she was kicked out of the house on numerous occasions?
She was, or that's what she told me at least.
Heather told you that she got a black eye attacked at Walmart and had to pull her pocket knife to
She
defend
did.
herself. You remember that?
She did.
Was that during the same time period as she was living with Jeremy, or you?
I don't know who she was living with at the time.
Do you recall stating that on your recorded statement that Jeremy lived in apartments near Longbeard's Bar and Restaurant?
I do not. I never knew where Jeremy lived.
Would this be more helpful to you to hear your statement?
I really don't want to put myself through it, if
I
you don't
understand.
mind.
Don't approach.
Yes.
Ladies and gentlemen of the jury, I'm going to let you go to the jury, but do not begin your deliberations. Don't discuss the case, please. Set on the records. Okay, I understand you won't play the statement because there's not a transcript of the statement. I suggested that you all listen. I never heard it, don't know what it says. You all can resolve this by saying that's exactly what she said. But if she does, if you're not going to resolve it that way, there's not any way to do that but to play it. And now the solicitor objects to playing a statement that the law enforcement took in investigating this case. Is that correct, solicitor?
Yes, sir, Your Honor. My issue with it is,
Now, I
for
want
one,
you to
my
state the basis
understanding.
for it, not your issue. Why legally are you entitled to keep this statement out?
Okay, I was going to tell you, Judge. My understanding of the rule of impeachment is when he asks her, did you say A, B, and C? If she says, I don't recall, she doesn't recall. There's no issue of impeachment. If she says, I didn't say that, at that time, he can go to the statement and play that portion of the statement. I don't know a rule, and Mr. Truslow can probably enlighten me, that has ever allowed a witness statement just to come up here and be played. In fact, I believe the rule is that's why she's here, to testify from the stand. We've never played an entire recording.
So listen, you have a statement in your investigation. You, for whatever reason, have chosen not to transcribe the statement.
I have it transcribed.
I just said that, but it's your statement. Your officers took a statement,
That's correct.
and you chose not to, and now the witness says, I can't remember what I said, or I didn't say that, and frankly, that's what she said. I think he's entitled to play it, or she's entitled to listen to it.
She's listened to it.
Well, then she obviously, solicitor, have you listened to it?
I have.
Well, then why can't we simply resolve this by saying that's what she said?
Because my understanding is
Are you
there's a lot
telling me
of...
she didn't say that? I'm asking you as an officer of the court, are you telling me that's not what the statement says?
My understanding is some of the items in the statement are
Listen,
not...
I'm asking you specifically the question posed when he said, did you say this? And she said, I don't recall saying that. And he said, do you want to listen to the statement? Would it refresh your recollection? That's done all the time. Constantly in court, at least in my experience in 22 years. From the standpoint of having to play it, obviously we have a situation where we don't have it. I'll be happy to play it out of the presence of the jury so she can hear it, but we can shorten this by simply stating, yes, you said that.
I can't control what she said.
I'm not asking you to control what she said. I'm asking you to control whether or not the statement, that's what she said in her statement. She can change her testimony That happens all the time too. I'm not trying to tell her she has to say what she said in the statement. Don't hear me say that, ma'am. I'm not saying that at all. You're entitled to answer it any way you want to today. But we have a statement where she said something. Now, I'm asking you as an officer of the court, are you telling me she didn't say that?
I don't know which portion we're referring to.
Celeste, you dancing with me now.
I'm not.
Yes, you
I
are.
really-
Then let's play the statement. Okay?
Your Honor, may I bring up one other issue, procedural?
Sure.
And it may be time for me to get yelled at. My speaker is damaged, and the state or the court could much easier, and the quality would be a lot better if they could assist me in playing the statement. And they've got it.
Y'all approach, please.
I will.
Y'all approach. Sure, absolutely. I just want you all to have a chance to talk about this. All right, let's take about a 10-minute break. Huh?
They're getting that right.
Sure, that's not a problem, and what they're getting for you is a copy of your statement that's been transcribed. I'll give you a chance to look at it, then they will ask you some questions. I want to reiterate something I said to you. I've never seen it, I don't know what it says, but you're entitled to read that, and if you change your mind or you agree with what it says, that's fine, but if you need to explain it, you're entitled to, okay? You haven't done a thing, don't you worry about it, okay? All right, we'll be at ease for about 10 minutes.
Thank you.